Hey everybody, what's up? Thank you for joining me on my first ever interview video. I sat down with Mark Kloeppel from Misery Index and Scour, and we talked about everything from the latest album, Complete Control, to the new record they hope to release next year, and everything in between. Talked about the current state of music, current state of death metal, and even AI. So check it out. Thanks.
Hey, Mark, how you doing, man?
Hey, good man. What's up, Matt?
Right on. Thank you for joining me, dude.
Yeah, you're welcome, dude.
So, what's new in the world of Misery Index?
Well, we're composing our next record, so we have a pretty good plan for that. Pretty much have it all mapped out, and we're just kind of like plugging in ideas and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And I'm for this one, I'm working more so off the lyrical themes, and I mean we've done so in the past, but it's been, as you can imagine, it's been like more of like a riff forward approach,
Right.
almost this entire time, and then we'd go back and like figure out patterns, and we'd have a general idea what the song and the album was going to be about, and then kind of like reapply that, and then work the song to fit that in, but there's a few songs salt and peppered in there where I take the other approach, whereas like we had like a bunch of prose and we don't really know what the chorus is or yet, but it's like the prose are kind of leaning towards some rhythms and things like that. So you start writing into that.
Right.
So I had a conversation with Jason early on, which puts a lot of more pressure on him for pre-writing and stuff. I was like, I'd kind of like to do more of that, because it was really like just a song here and there that was written.
Right.
So I want to do. So for this album, that's what we're doing. We have it pretty much mapped out. There's a good plot line running through it, and definitely like writing more into the lyrics rather than having it be more of like a rhythmic sort of afterthought to what's
Right.
Right.
Well, it's kind of like Ronnie James Dio, like said back in the day, like lyrics are an afterthought, like they're written usually after the music's done. So I guess it takes a different perspective when you write to the cadence of the vocals, maybe, or trying to write around things that way instead of doing like the same old thing where it's kind of like thinking outside of the box to try to from a different approach, like trying to like write to drums or like write to vocals instead of just being like, here's a riff, what's like base, there's the basic idea right there.
Man. And honestly, like, I don't want to say I prefer it. I prefer what's best, what process is best for the song. It's not always
For sure.
But like, Jason has, he's been our primary lyricist, this whole time. And it's real like, a lot of social commentary, socio-politico, if you want to call it that, but it's well thought out. And I would have just prefer moving forward just to have that be just a little bit more front and center. You know what I mean? More of a focal point of what we're doing, and have just the music back up more so what we're trying to say.
For sure. Your guys' last album, Complete Control, like listening to that, it's a slamming record, dude. Sounds awesome.
Thank you.
The single was awesome, both singles. And that was something that I noticed in the lyrics. It's definitely social commentary. It's definitely the current state of affairs, and surrounded by extreme music. And I think that the current climate that we live in, just like the world itself is reflected really well in that music. So I guess it really does go hand in hand to do things like that, to, like you're saying, to have the music focus or surrounded by the lyrics, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And we pretty much got it there on the last one too, with, doing the other way.
Right.
I just thought it'd be cooler to, rather than like, manipulate the lyrics or to like suit the mood of the song, like actually write the mood of the song to suit the 100%. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So
do you think it's more like an emotive response that way, like the intensity of the music's there because the lyrics are intense, so it's like it conveys the message better that way, maybe?
Possibly. I don't know. This is the big experiment here. So
right.
We do, but it's not like too much of an experiment. It's like almost the same approach. We still have like our libraries of like cool riff ideas.
Right.
We have it's just like just a little bit of way of putting puzzle pieces together, you know?
For sure, yeah. In a different way, maybe, than just like the normal thing, which is cool to do things that are different, not just the same old rinse and repeat or rehash of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it gets probably pretty monotonous. You guys have put out a ton of records, so it's probably like, what can we do to make it different in a sense of it, stay true to the root of the band, but like, how can we make it different and more interesting, even for you as well as a musician, instead of just like the same old thing, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and we have a pretty good like understanding of like our discography and how it reflects our identity and what's going on. Like, you know, like we hit a stride. You know, Discordia, it's like Adam and I we're just joining the band, trying to figure out like how we fit and how to like do that sound.
Right.
We kind of like hit stride as a band, like writing songs together. And it's like, okay, now we know what our eclectic mix is and we're doing it well.
Right.
Then we put like, you know, we put down the gas pedal on that, and like and it's really like tight and you know, very like streamlined on that one. And then like Killing Gods, we branch off and like do some like more dark exploration, more thematic exploration, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, when we got to like Complete Control, we just did I miss a record? Anyways, we got
There's been a few.
Yeah. Oh, Rituals of Power, of course. Rituals of Power, we were trying to like do some like, we're just going for like really cool singles. That's what
Right.
we did, this like really like thematic album just before. We're like, man, that was like a cool exploration. We're not like this, you know, proggy exploratory kind of band. I was like, let's try to do some really cool singles on this one.
Right.
And that's what we did, and it worked out. And we had like, you know, probably our best single to date, New Salem on there. And so that worked out. For Complete Control, we just got off Season of Mist. Gotta love Season of Mist. And we moved on to Century Media. And so making that jump, we wanted to make something that that the fans are gonna dig, like our fan base, and they weren't going to be upset by this move. And we're going to do like something that everyone from the first Overthrow EP up to that point would dig. And we definitely like leaned more into what was like an older style of the band, which is like more like I don't know, like like tons of down picking, dissonant, kind of grindy stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of leaning more into that, but mixing more of our modern elements in there. And so, but we definitely wanted to like, we definitely had Overthrow in mind.
Gotcha.
You know, especially with tracks like Necessary Suffering and you know, I think that one's the unsung hero of the album. Honestly, that's one's a ripper. But that one's taken in like that, more of that Overthrow approach
For sure.
back in. Now, I don't think it really like worked as well in terms of like doing let's do some like, you know, let's do some singles. You know,
right, exactly.
Honestly, that wasn't the approach at all.
Right.
It wasn't the approach at all. We were just like, we just want to do like the best version. Not a best version of ourselves, but it was a bit of a retrospective of what we had done up until that point.
For sure. Yeah, I think
speaking.
Got you, man. Like, and like moving from one label to another, that's a big change. You know what I mean? And like certain, I mean, I don't know if this is correct or not, but like you identify certain bands on certain labels. You know what I mean? So
sure.
Like, you know, and that's kind of like what you're saying. But dude, I remember hearing Misery Index back in the day when it was like a college radio spot. Like I'm talking a long time ago, and they did the. Yeah. I don't know if you probably heard it, but like that. I mean, you guys have been around for quite a while. You like legacy band status almost, you know, and your guys have got a really cool history and this and that. And speaking of which, dude, so what was your defining moment when you joined Misery Index? Like, what was like when you like what was like the first show that you played like? Like what was, if you can remember that, like what was the biggest, like the meaning when you got there?
Like the very first show I played with a band?
Yeah. What was that like?
What was that like?
I mean, it's like 20 years ago or something, but
I don't even know if I remember the very first show. It might have been because here's the thing. They had me come out and rehearse with the band and attend some shows before I actually played with the band.
Oh, wow.
So I'm a little hazy on like, because we've played a lot of these venues like 100 times, but we played like, you know, we were at like the Sidebar I'd have to actually go back and look, and because I went back and look at the list, I could be able to tell you. We did. There was like the sidebar, and we played with like this. I think it was like All Pigs Must Die. I think was the name of the band, but it was like in Baltimore, of course. And there was another one that was like at I can't remember. Like I said, I got to look at the list.
Dude, yeah, you guys have been around for a while, and you played a shitload of shows, but like,
over 1,000 shows in 44
I believe it, man. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. Like, what's your favorite venue in the U.S.? You said Baltimore, so I have to say, like, I've been to the Soundstage. That place is freaking awesome, man. Like, that's a cool venue.
Soundstage is cool. Auto Bar, I have a lot of sentimentality towards. I used to do security there, and we played there like a million times. We called that place a home.
Nice.
A lot of friends that are like working up in there and running the joint. And that was kind of like home base. At one point in time, we were like, we had our practice space, which was like a block away from the Auto Bar, and all like Sparky, Adam, and I all worked there. And then when we recorded, recording like Heirs to Thievery, especially, like we went to Right Way Studios, and that was just like another block over.
Oh, that's cool.
It was like that was kind of like a home base area for a really long time.
It's like the Bermuda Triangle, man.
Yeah, the Bermuda Triangle on
Exactly.
Howard Street. Yeah.
So that's cool, man. Like, so let's talk about Scour. Is there any news about Scour? I mean, that was honestly one of the best black metal records or EPs or whatever that had come out, in my opinion, in a really long time. Like, that was like extremely like angry. Like, it was just mean, dude. Like, that was an awesome album.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's cool. It's it's a lot of trend picking and shredding. Like, we did a Scour live, live from the lair over COVID when no one could go to shows. We did a live stream, and that was really awesome. And we only have like 3 EPs of music, so we literally had to play everything.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
And it's still quite a lot of jams. Like once you start stacking them all together, it's like an hour. It's like an hour set. And it's cool, man. Yeah, we've been getting together and jamming. We jammed over like Halloween and at the part, the house horror home haunt.
Nice.
Down there, and that was pretty fun. Got to play in front of some cool people, and some of the down guys were there. You probably already saw us. They got to watch them. We got to watch them. They got to watch us, and that was just kind of a good time.
Nice, man.
We do have some music brewing. It's pretty well along. I don't know how much I could talk about it at this stage. Sure. But yeah, there is new music on the horizon for sure.
Nice, dude. Is there any plans of playing that stuff like live on a tour or anything like that? I mean, in the foreseeable future? Or?
I mean, we will play live, but I can't say much else other than that.
Dude. Gotcha.
There will be more music, and we will play live.
Nice. So, there you go.
Yep.
Coolness. So, any plans to tour with Misery Index this coming year, or are you guys just going to like do the whole like just record the album, let a year go by, and hit it next year? Or are you guys planning on getting out there doing festivals?
No, we got fests. May. We got some fests in May, and then we have like a 3-week festival run in Europe in August. We are going to save like the more intense stuff for the following year in 2025 because we're going to spend this year getting the album completed and into production.
When do you guys estimate that it will be done, or is it just kind of up in the air? Or do you have a deadline, your target date you're hoping for?
I'm hoping to release it like at the very beginning of 25. Yeah.
Cool.
So like January, February, something like that.
Nice. Yeah, it takes time to put a record out for sure, man. Getting it recorded is only half the battle, and there's everything else that goes along with it. So
yeah, we're like I don't know what to say. I mean, if I just like, I guess we're like 50%, there, and then it's probably going to be, early summer, like or springtime when we were recording.
Cool.
It's kind of fun. We're going to go back to Right Way in Baltimore for this one. So that'll be like returning home with our good friend Steve Wright and his beautiful A room and his SSL board. And
there you go, man.
And so that's going to be really cool. Yeah,
Nice.
hanging with old friends and getting this one done.
That's awesome, Mike. And I'm sure, like, when you're tracking in the studio, if you're more comfortable being there, I'm sure it's going to produce better results than, going somewhere that may be new or you're not familiar with. But working with somebody probably makes the whole process a lot easier when you're working.
I think, I don't know, every method's kind of got its own pluses and minuses.
Right.
Like I've done tracking locally and sent them in. And I've also we've all been in one studio and did the whole record together,
right.
Locked ourselves in there. And I'd say, Rituals of Power was done separately. Heirs of Thievery was done all together. Killing Gods was kind of like a hybrid. In Complete Control, because of COVID, we had to do it separately.
Right. Yeah.
And so, yeah, for this one, we were just going to come all back in one room. And
might as well do that, especially after the last one you guys had to do separately. It might be kind of cool to get back together, and it'll be a good time.
Yeah, switch it up.
Yeah, man.
There's, like I said, there's positives and negatives to that kind of stuff. Positive being you're there with the dudes, you can give instant feedback. You got your engineer there, who's got a pretty acute ear on things, and then negatives are. I got a gang load of kids, so I got to time and babysitters and all this stuff.
Right.
It becomes more of a tour scenario.
Exactly.
Which is sort of a pain in my ass, just to record stuff, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's having to divide your mind. Got your your home life and then doing business. It's tough to being a parent. I can relate because it's you always have one eye, or one ear towards home at all times, and it's the way it should be. But it's probably convenient though, like you said, tracking locally where you can just go in, punch the clock, get your stuff done, and head home and sleep in your own bed and stuff like that. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, any kind of job where you have to travel is definitely always tough when you got a fam or whatever. But
for sure.
This isn't the only profession where it's done. Military guys, airline pilots,
yeah,
you name it, tractor trailer drivers,
they're man.
This isn't the only profession that has that challenge. So
right, working on the railroad and stuff like that,
Yeah. My Uncle Jimmy, he was a railroad guy. My dad is retired 2-star, so he worked all the way through. He was 6-month deployment at one point. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's overseas. He's just over there.
Nice.
So yeah, it's part of being an adult.
Unfortunately, but yeah, whatever. But dude, so all right. So what is the most memorable show that you've ever played? I mean, these are the generic questions, but I just like to hear the answers to them. So what was the most memorable show that you've ever played, dude?
I do have one that was pretty memorable, and I can't remember the exact year, but I want to say it was 2007. Or something like that. But it was one of the early iterations of Hellfest.
Oh, right on.
And and so they had Korn and Lamb of God and shit, and there are only 2 stages. There's and they're on either sides of this big ass muddy field. It rained like a motherfucker, and it was a big mud pit. People walking around with paper bags around their legs, with big clumps of mud.
Oh yeah.
And I believe we were on one stage, the one band had ended, and so no. The band on our stage ended, so we were doing changeover.
Right.
We're slipping out the stuff, and we're going to check stuff, and we're going to go on after whatever happens on the other stage. I think it was Korn or something was over there. I think it was Korn, then us, then Lamb of God or something. That was the flip flop.
Right.
You could see the stage. It was a mile over there.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
And I think they had 40,000 people or something. So we're checking and stuff, and it was a pretty long changeover because it was whole sets of bands,
Right.
Because it was in the same field, and so it's 40,000 people, and they're all gathered over the other stage. It's Korn's going to play,
Right.
And the generator over there caught on fire. was like flames and shit, and like the whatever country French fire department's coming in trying to like put it out, and like needless to say, they didn't play.
Right.
So I believe, and I don't know if we went on early, but we definitely went on. Right. Our generator was fine. Our stage was fine. But I can't remember if it was early or not, but at any rate, they weren't playing, and they announced to everybody, and there was fire and shit happening over there. Fire department's trying to put out this generator, and then and so they put us on. And so at that point, 40,000 people in this field like about faced and started walking towards our stage.
Right.
And that at that moment, that was the most people I've ever seen in one place. In 2007, that was like the most people I'd ever seen in one place in one time, like ever in person.
Right, totally.
And so we're up there, and you kind of like just put that away, and you start doing your thing.
Right.
All the shit, head banging, and then there's like a circle pit in there. You're like, all right, they're getting into it. And we go through all this stuff, and like, I remember at the very end, we're going off stage, and like, I throw, put the fist up in the air, right, and I just kind of leave it there, and the first person to put their fist up in the air back at me was like a football field away,
right,
little guy. He was like. And
right.
And then like the rest of them like did it. Whoa.
That's cool, man.
And I was like, and I got my stuff off stage, and I got down behind the stage, and like and realized I was hyperventilating. Like I didn't,
man.
You're just kind of like, yeah, everything's cool, and then you're like, wait a minute, a panic attack. How about that?
Oh man.
But it was real weird because there was this like there was like this disconnect,
right.
There was this disconnect between my body and like my brain on how I was feeling about things,
Right.
Like that was an intense thing, I guess, for my reptilian brain.
That's a lot of people, bro.
Man was just like, that was cool. But I was like sitting there like a total weirdo and having this panic attack, like,
all right.
Just got off stage playing in front of 40,000 people, and I just had to sit there and process that, for a minute.
Yeah, I bet, dude. Yeah.
So it's weird. It was a really weird instance. It's also a very cool moment and
right.
Interesting moment because the generator caught on fire, and like we were playing around like pretty big bands, like
dude.
So. But yeah, that was like, I would say that was pretty memorable. There's other ones, of course, but that one sticks out for sure.
No, that's awesome too. And that was like relatively soon after you joined the band too, right? Because you joined in 2006. So that
I joined it early. And for being technical about it, I was out there rehearsing with the band in like December of 2004.
Oh wow, really? Okay.
I hadn't joined. I was like auditioning.
Gotcha.
And then I came out again in like early 2005, and jammed with them again. Attended some shows to see what was up, and I might have played some shows at that point. And like I said, that's where it gets hazy. And I was like, I don't know,
sure.
Did I play that sidebar show? Or but my very first tour with the band was February of that year, and
cool.
we did. It was like. It was Suffocation, Behemoth, us, and like Cattle Decapitation.
Gotcha.
Back in 2005. Yeah. So so 2000, early 2005 is when I joined, and that was my first tour.
Damn, that's cool, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
It was cool. Got to meet those guys, and I still. I mean, I don't know. I talk to him. I don't really talk to him, but like we still know each other. Like drummer from Behemoth, Inferno.
No, yeah, dude, for sure.
He's a monster. And then and that wasn't the last time we toured with Behemoth too, because we went out with them in like the Full of Hate tour, like a few years later, with Cannibal Corpse and Behemoth, some other bands.
That's rad.
Yeah, maybe Legion of the Damned was on that. Can't remember.
That's cool. So let me ask a couple more questions, man. So like, when you're not playing death metal, what do you listen to? Are you strictly a metal only kind of guy? But like, what do you like to listen to besides metal, dude? Nothing.
Talk radio, podcasts.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. There's like some. There's like a playlist called Vintage Obscura, which is pretty cool. That Anselmo and Jarvis turned me on to. It's just kind of like cool old music, some kind of soundtracky stuff.
Nice.
And I like that kind of stuff. Atmospheric, sort of no name. I couldn't tell you any names or whatever.
Right.
I like milling through that kind of stuff.
Like mood music. So it's like something to live your life to, kind of shit.
I like a few jazz singers, like Nina Simone, and I like Kurt Elling. I like how they use their vocals and like what do I want to say? Channel instruments. You know,
Gotcha.
Different instruments like woodwinds and strings and stuff. Like you can kind of hear it in their voice.
Yeah.
That sounds like that trumpet kind of thing with the. And you got the muffler in, like that's kind of neat, you know.
Yeah, dude, my sister showed me that Nina Simone, and that stuff's awesome, dude. Like I can appreciate that. It's really good stuff, and you know, it's something. Sometimes it's nice to hear something different, you know, than just same old stuff.
Kurt Elling's one of my favorites when it comes to vocalizations and stuff like that. I think he's like really cool. I mean, as far as the material goes, you know, it's I don't know if it's like the you know, the most compelling, but it's like that's not really the point. Like it's the vocalization part is like what's really compelling about that.
Right. So it's not like it's almost like listening to it, you know, just like for the vocals or what they're doing vocally instead of like listening to the music. And do you think as a musician, dude, that when you listen to music, it's hard to just like enjoy it for what it is? Like you have to kind of like hear it, like something has to like catch your interest or like you like not. I hate to use the word like.
Yeah, I mean
academically or something, but like that's like maybe it's like for me, I can't listen to like pop music, and like I tried to listen to it and stuff like that, but it's just like my brain's like, oh well, I don't like this or this is this or this is that. Like I don't think about it just like from an average listening point of view.
Well, no, I mean, there's not really like a painter on earth that can look at an oil painting and not like have technical things
right
in the back of his mind, you know.
Right, for sure.
Things are the same way, and you know. And I remember a time when, you know, when I was younger, we're talking like 9, you know, where it's like I couldn't really like make all the instruments out individually.
Right.
You know, I think a lot of people listen to stuff like that, especially if they're not musicians or have never been. And it's a really weird listening experience because they're hearing it all as one thing.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it, man.
And dude, there are more. That's the majority of people.
Right.
More people like that than there are people who have like this like oral training or this innate way to distinguish voices.
Right.
You can just like you listen to a choir and you can hear the bass versus the soprano. Some
For
people
sure.
hear it all as you know.
Right.
It's all that. And I remember distinctly like around like 9 years old, like starting to be able to like hear the different instruments just naturally. Right. It just started coming to me just from doing a lot of listening. I just like music. It's like, wait a minute. It's like, there's a cymbal.
Right.
It is again. And there it is again. And then like you start like pulling different stuff out.
Right.
So I can't listen to things like that. Like when I was 9 and I couldn't quite differentiate one voice from another. You kind of hear the main vocal, but you can't really make it. It's like, and most people listen to stuff like that, and I can't do that anymore.
Yeah,
like,
I hear you, man.
You cannot. Your brain doesn't do that anymore.
Right.
It automatically, like immediately, it's like all the voices go bloop, and it's like there's a kick drum, there's a snare drum.
Yeah, exactly.
You fucking like instantly now. You can't undo that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like being cursed with your conscience is what it's like, man. Because like it's just like no matter what, like you hear every little, it's like, oh, there's that, like you said, the kick or the snare, or like whatever. Like one thing I like to do is watch people's live recordings and find the mistakes.
Yeah.
And I'll listen to it and be like, aha, they screwed up right there. Oh, that's a little later, this and that. So, that's how I listen to music. Unfortunately, I guess to a certain degree is like I listen to it from that perspective, like you're saying, man. And it's hard to listen to stuff sometimes.
You gotta like, and when you do like production or songwriting or whatever, and you listen to it, I mean, obviously you listen to it from kind of like you're a connoisseur, you kind of know what the people that are like you want, but at the same time, you got to try to kind of like listen to it like that person. You can't distinguish
exactly.
So you know the production's good, which is impossible. So it's almost like you got to find somebody.
Exactly. Totally. That's what you're paying these guys for.
But in terms of like, liking, not liking, I can't say that I'm at a point in my musical journey, I guess, that like there's not a lot that I don't like.
Oh, wow, right on.
And the way, and I don't know, it's like almost like personal preference and opinion is just kind of like out the window at this point.
For sure.
When I listen to stuff, I listen to it on its own terms, and I listen to it in a way that like, is it achieving what it's setting out to do?
For sure. Like when I listen to stuff like with my daughter, or whatever, and she listens to like Ariana Grande music or whatever, or Elle King and stuff like that, like you're saying, like I can appreciate it for like what it is, like, or even for the production value. A lot of times, like, hey, those vocals sound killer, like, you know what I mean, stuff like that. So there's definitely something to be like it's not, it's not like you said, it's like personal preferences, whatever. Are they really achieving what they're going for? And then maybe that's like the educated big picture look. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what that is.
Well, you got to think about it. It's like, and you can still not like stuff, but like it, dislike it for a good reason. Like, okay, I have this pop song. These lyrics seem shallow.
Right.
Are they supposed to be? Is that what's suiting the music? Are they supposed to be this way? If yes, well, they're great. They're doing great.
Yeah, mission accomplished, right?
If no, and it's actually supposed to be a serious song, and it's coming off shallow,
right?
You have failed.
Exactly.
In that case, no, I don't like it because it's, I don't like to listen to music that's failing.
Right, exactly. No matter what it is. And there's nothing worse, speaking of like failing musicians, like there's nothing worse than a sloppy death metal band.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for sure.
And the reason is it's supposed to have like a kind of superhuman quality to it.
Right.
And it can still be in some, we'll take like the Entombed approach, or like, the more like punkish kind of like,
for sure.
It can, the more bolt thrower kind of like approach to death metal. Like it can be a little looser, but it still has to sound like a marching behemoth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It still has to have that part because it's superhuman, but it's a different kind of superhuman.
Right. Dude, what is that, like Cenotaph, like from Bolt Thrower?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I knew exactly. I did a cover of that song with my buddy. But anyway, yeah, dude, like who else is like that? I mean, there's a lot of bands, like as long as the vibe is there. Like I saw Dismember and I think it was Brutal Assault, and I'm a huge Dismember fan. And they were like that. Like they were all, it's like an engine that knocks, but it all knocks correctly. You know what I mean? Like the cylinders are misfiring, but like it all makes sense and it sounds like the behemoth walking, down the hallway gonna crush your face, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So it's like a superhuman thing, but it's more like a Neanderthalish monster kind of
exactly
thing going on, and there's a lot of bands out there that are sort of like that. Frozen Soul comes to mind, as one. Gate Creeper, kind of another that has that kind of like, I don't know if you want to call it entombed worship exactly, because I don't really think entombed, if you go back and listen to it, it doesn't really sound like that.
Right.
Exactly, but yeah, it's not like the Arcspire version of Superhuman.
Exactly. The crazy stuff going on.
Yeah. And they're super cool. I feel like that band is has rung the death bell for any and all progressive metal that's trying to be superhuman in that way.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, yeah, it doesn't really you don't really go faster. You don't really you just do different at that point,
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't know if the world needs a whole bunch more of different that,
Exactly. Well, it's just like anything else. I mean, anything starts to sound monotonous at a certain point. Like, I love technical death metal. I like progressive death metal. I like death metal too, and metal in general. But like, having some variety to it's cool. And that's kind of like you guys, dude, because like you have kind of like a Napalm Death kind of vibe going on too, with maybe that's not right, but like a punky kind of vibe, not like that kind absolutely. Of, that kind of things there. But also too, there's some good riffing in there too. So it's kind of like mixing it up, and I'm like, it's cool just to have something that's not just like the same rinse and repeat thing, because once you hear one guitar doing bird call stuff, it's like the next, I don't want to listen to that for 45 minutes. And I love that stuff. I just can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It gets a little old, a little monotonous, it's like, no doubt impressive,
absolutely,
killer, man, but like in terms of like the listening experience, it's like, well, it's just been done so much,
right.
But or maybe sometimes the scene just needs a break from that for a little
absolutely.
while. I think, and that's what'll happen. Bands will react to that, and they'll
absolutely
see it. And then they'll hop on. A bunch of them hop on a different kind of train, and then everyone gets sick of that. And
right, like the caveman death metal thing was one that was popular for a bit. Like, there seemed to be a lot of bands that were good bands. Don't get me wrong, but like they kind of seem to be following that formula, if you will. Especially in my neck of the woods, there seems to be a lot of bands that are awesome that like took that old school style, like Massacre and stuff like that. But it's good stuff. And I think with technical death metal, though, a lot of times the song gets lost. It's really cool, like you said, like crazy playing, awesome musicianship, but like, where's the chorus at, or like, where's the, like the memorable part where it's like all, like you get the crazy technicality, but you get like the good, like, I can latch onto this and the feel is good. You know what I mean?
Indeed. Yeah. That's sort of what we talk about, if you want to call it something like that, caveman metal movement. Like, I appreciated that the songwriting component coming back as part of,
man.
Because it was like, oh yeah, they're, it has a little bit of that. The only thing that sucks about it is it's like there's a little too rehash kind of going on without pushing stuff forward. I don't really like that aspect of it. It reminds me of like re-thrash, like redoing the thrash movement, and like, it's like, it's the band, more power to them. The bands that are doing it, being successful, awesome. That's really cool. There's some really cool songs coming out of it. However, just like with this, like, the caveman death thing, where it's like, it's really leaning into borrowing stuff from a scene that's like, basically from the late 80s, and and it's like, I don't know, paint your picture with whatever the fuck you want. Who the hell am I?
I get you, man.
It's all good, and some really cool songs are coming out of it that were not there before, and I think that's cool. In terms of like the aesthetic, though, it's like, man, it's just like, it's not forward, it's not pushing it forward enough. It's like some of that stuff like leans too much on that retro stuff.
For sure, I get you, man.
For my taste, and then it becomes like a more of a fashion than a music.
Right.
And
I get you.
And I'm not really down with, as an old metalhead, I'm not really down with it either. But again, dude, that's me being a fucking, total elitist. And at the end of the day, I will listen to all that stuff and be like, yeah, it's a pretty good song. You're going for, you're doing it.
Exactly. I feel you.
Unfortunately, the thing that you're going for is like, maybe like 80% of this, like, retro thing. That part I don't personally like, but I still like that sound.
For sure. It's just like everything surrounding it, maybe like what you're saying, kind of like the music's cool, but like it's just kind of like it's it's not, there's not much room for growth there, or it's not about the music at a certain point, kind of an idea.
It's like when the cake has too much icing, man.
Gotcha. Okay.
Too much of that shit. You put too much icing on it. I like icing on my cake. You need a well-made cake too.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Shit can't be dense, Yeah.
It's just like, but what's the cake? It's just like Betty Crocker box chocolate cake.
Right. It may be done in the middle. We don't know, but there's a shitload of icing.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, I'm down with Betty Crocker. I mean, I've had a brownie or two in my life.
I hear you for sure.
I don't know. Again, I don't want to be judgy. At any rate, if you are a band that is out there making stuff and then like surviving at all, more
exactly.
Thank you very much for flying the metal flag and making sure the damn thing exists tomorrow.
Exactly. That's my philosophy too, man, is like more power to everybody doing what they want to do. They're keeping metal alive. That's important. That's like the most important thing, is that, like maybe I necessarily, it's not my favorite thing, whatever it may be, but at least they're out there doing what they love. And if they're successful, whatever that looks like to them, that's awesome. And they're keeping the music out there, man.
And that's why I don't want to be like too judgy, and where it's like, because we're all metalheads here, and it's like, we don't want to like eat ourselves to death,
Right. Kind of, absolutely.
The thing could go away. That's what people sometimes, when you get like really pessimistic about things, that's the point I think people sometimes forget, is that it is a culture and a thing that you're part of. And if you don't help it go from one day to the next, it can go the fuck away.
It almost did, dude. At one point, it almost really did. But then some people say that that's when the best music's made, is when it does shrink back, and like, to me, like, I mean, but, but the more it's out there is a good thing, especially for people that are musicians that are trying to make a living doing this.
If you don't live it and keep it going, you could disco this shit. You know what I mean? And it just, it's just fucking gone. It is a thing. It's a music of the past. Well, it's not a music of the present. It's like ragtime.
Well, dude, just kind of like with modern recording stuff, it's like, it's good to hear real instruments in anybody's music at this point. Yeah. Like I noticed that as a listening person, like, there's a real drum set, or well, they're actually using a guitar. So at this point, I don't care if you're playing freeform jazz, playing pop music, technical death metal or whatever. If you're playing real instruments, that's cool. Because that,
and look, they didn't use AI for their artwork.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, what can you do? But yeah, I'm like, that's an interesting thing. AI, hopefully it will not be the death to everything that's created, dude, because
it's fuck.
It's just, it's a shame, man.
Like on the previous topic, because like Metallica's still out there doing their thing, and they get a lot of shit, especially Lars Ulrich. And then Pantera out there doing a thing with Zakk Wylde and Charlie Benante, getting a pretty good amount of support. But you have your fair amount of naysayers and things like that. I mean, I didn't see a show that wasn't sold out. And I will just say this: it does not hurt metal as a genre and a culture to have Metallica and Pantera rolling through your town and drawing 70,000 people into a stadium.
Dude, that's good for business. And there's a lot of good things, I mean, musically, but as far as just like economics are concerned, like, that's cool. And, anybody that's hating on Metallica, it's stupid, or Pantera, because
that is re-inspiring tons of people in future generations, and also it's just making a statement on like where metal itself is.
Dude, it's inspiring now. It's even in our old age, dude, it's still inspiring
right now. Right now,
absolutely.
To me.
Exactly.
Young person over here who learn how to play guitar, and I want to do that.
Right. And then that's good in any way, shape, and form, man, for sure. They're keeping it alive, and hopefully they'll buy, concert tickets to other bands that they like, and yada yada on and so forth.
Yeah, I would, not single-handedly, but they're that whole thing is just like a huge component of keeping what the rest of us are doing alive.
Exactly, yeah, dude, for sure.
Be a thing.
Yeah, man.
So hats off to them. That's what I say.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, sure. Yeah, AI is going to ruin everything. So
I agree, dude. Like,
I'm glad we have those bands out there planting the flag because we are into a new frontier.
Yeah, it's going to be scary, man. I mean, I'm not going to put my tinfoil hat on and say, they're going to Skynet shit's going to happen, but like, just like you never know. But like, anyway, I don't know, like, removing humanity from anything is not a good idea. You know what I mean? Art, music, military stuff, or what have you. I mean, the only thing that stuff would be good for is like getting recipes online. Like that's all. I don't know.
I mean, and what sucks is there's going to be like visual artists are going to take the hit first.
They already have. Like you just referenced, like, the AI art thing. Like, how many fake oil paintings have you seen lately?
Yeah, I know. The thing is with that stuff, it's like I can see through it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you can tell.
It looks like AI as an artist has a certain sheen about it, and it's like I can see it.
Right. Well, it's kind of like nature, dude. Like,
and almost tell you for sure that it's like it doesn't have, that was not made by a human.
Right. Well, it's kind of like nature don't build in a straight line kind of an idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can tell when something's man-made versus when it's natural. Same kind of premise, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't know. It's cheap. People are probably going to make merch designs out of it, and that's gonna hurt some people. But when it starts getting into like, you can just like throw some adjectives into a song generator, and it just spits out your next album.
Exactly.
I mean,
totally, bro.
That's not cool.
No,
I don't like that at all. I don't know if it'll ever get that far, but why would it? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Mark, we're about to wrap it up here, dude. I really appreciate you for talking to me, man. It's my first interview. Thank you, dude. And before we go, what is one thing you want to say or anything you want to talk about before you go? I mean, we talked about the Misery Index stuff and the Scour stuff. Anything else you want to say?
No, I think I'm good. I mean, I will say that it's really cool to see you doing this kind of stuff, and I would encourage like most artists to like participate in doing this kind of content generation, so authentic, kind of stuff. I think it helps everything.
Thank you, dude. Right on, you guys. Well, Mark, thank you for joining me, dude. Until next time, and keep kicking ass, dude.
Cool. You too, man.
All right, later.
Cheers.